limit who we ultimately sell these lots to, so I held the building width, was able to pick up 13 lots, but I went from 132 to 145 lots. That's not a huge pickup by any sense of the imagination. But, you know, I still have other hurdles. The shoreland zoning that's going through the state legislature right now potentially is a big help to me out there, because I have multiple jurisdictional bodies with objecting authority across this. Well, that's just a time delay. You know, at the end of the day, I'm going to build it, but I don't need to have someone else with their fingers in the pot that don't necessarily have to be there.
Ann, you had a question?
It got answered. I'm fine.
Can you talk about the, I think Jim, you talked to me about this once before, about the MLS entering lot home packages. What were you saying? So these are homes that are not listed for sale in MLS, but are you saying that I can do a new construction?
That I own land in Still Rivers in Pewaukee. If I have a client that builds with me and buys one of my lots, for one day I show it in MLS as a sold deal.
Okay, so this is just helping comps, that's the goal?
That's my whole goal.
Okay, so can you do that when you didn't own the original lot?
It sounded like what Scott was saying, that MLS is receptive to that. My only question to that is if we enter a customer's home into MLS, we're in trouble of violating whatever privacy they have. I don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah, I think there's going to be disclosure on contracts. Contract work. Yeah, I think there's going to be that. And in my mind, it's going to end up to be what they used to do, the one-party listing. It's on the market for a day and shown as accepted and closes the next day and strictly there for data. But that potential is out there, but I think really the customer at the end of the day is going to have to say, yes, you can do that with my home, or no, you can't. And a lot of them, I think, will say no. The reason I say that is they don't want the assessor to know because they're tapping into MLS. They don't want their neighbors to know, et cetera, et cetera. That's why they're building a custom home with you.
Could MLS create a new category for us for that type of?
I don't know.
And that's, I mean, that's ultimately what the agenda item was about. We're going to be in discussions with them to talk about some of those finer details. So,
I mean, it's so true.
Tony, if you want to be on that, it's going to be one little meeting with them, so it's not going to be a drawn out thing. So, if you want to
Guys, we have about 7 minutes left in discussion here. So, what are the real quick pertinent questions?
The only tough thing that I see still with the MLS with getting appraisals and comps to figure is a lot of times appraisers call us, or if we're selling a property and we give them everything we've got on the contract. I've already been accused of, you know, they've already said, oh yeah, well you builders, you put everything in your contract, and then how do we know that you didn't back it out or you didn't do something with it? So if you're going to put something on MLS and it's maybe, you know, like you put it on and it's maybe not a landscaped property, and they might just take that comp and think of it as an existing home that's already landscaped and the driveway's in and all that. They might not be adjusting for those figures either.
Good point. Why don't we take a couple more questions and then let each of you have a minute and a half to recap anything you want to say.
As long as you've got all these builders and developers in here, does anybody have any ideas as to how to avoid these municipal impact fees? How do you get a municipality to drop their impact fees? I mean, they're going to get all that money back in tax revenue in 3 or 4 years, you know, with the $500,000 house that we're putting in there. How do we make those, you know, because that's not helping us, right? The guy's got to pay 10 grand for sewer hookup. Not such a great incentive. And we all agree with that, I understand that, but how do we fix it?
It's on our agenda item, and it's actually 1 year that it costs to get paid back.
Well, it's worth it.
Yeah. So realistically, that's conversations we're having with the city of Waukesha. I know the city of Metropolitan, they would like to talk about it as well. So, yeah,
if we can, if you guys we're running out of time, so I'm sorry that we're not able to answer all the questions that we have. Panel, would you like to take more questions or give a 1 minute recap each? So
I like the question. I mean,
Okay,
I'll make one comment. I think one thing on the tax problem is the taxes are split among all the different tax jurisdictions. So the municipality gets all the fees, and they only get X percent of the tax bill. So my personal feeling is trying to get the number down, the impact fee down south, because basically worker milking firms like this come up with some formula what the impact fee is and some justification. The key is it's paid a permit. You know, that will do a lot to it as well. And I think John's totally right about going, those that have relations, it's about relations. So these are all just people. I mean, every community's got a person, and just like you and I, and you gotta convince that person that this makes sense. So you have to passionately tell all the various folks in that community that the the client needs it, the customer needs it. And ultimately, the city doesn't lose if it's paid a permit, it's just a couple years later, you know? They still get the dollars they need to run. So I think, to me, that's a critical element to solving that issue.
Tim, one of the biggest challenges with Rupert and Milky and other consulting firms is they don't calculate revenue. They look at strictly the expenses within the study that they do, and many communities don't catch that fact. We've started to showcase the economic side of it.
Yeah, look at both sides of the equation.
Yeah, that's really the biggest issue, is they're not looking at the revenue side of the equation.
I think John made another comment, I think you alluded to it, I don't know if you hit it that hard, but the concept of I'll call it the building requirements, the covenant requirements. Everybody got a big ego in this cycle and what they demanded, and the reality is the average customer can't afford all the stuff that the city wants to have people do in many cases. And it's just having some real balance between what the practical customer can afford and all the demands of what the municipality wants done to the homes. So that's another thing that I think needs to be had with communities.
Time for one more question.
It's more a point than the city of Waukesha case brought it up. Scott Matthew and I talked about it, but everyone here lives in a community. Watch your local newspapers. It takes 2 seconds to drop Scott an email and let him know about something coming. The city of Waukesha, I think a couple of people knew. They didn't really let Scott know to get in front of it. By the time Scott got in front of it, I think it was already at the time of adoption. So there are fees already in place, but communities are looking to generate more revenues, to get more fees in for the parks and everything else. It's just something to keep your eye on.
Can I just make one
Yeah, absolutely.
quick thing? Just to hopefully leave on a high note, just a quick overview of lots in Waukesha County through MLS and other means. We tallied a few numbers here. I did at least. I know you guys, everyone has a little bit different numbers, but they're kind of close to each other. We had about 984 lots on MLS in December of 2012 in Waukesha County. This is strictly Waukesha County. Lot sales were 293 lots sold in Waukesha County in 2012. That downward trend in lots that were platted, that's going to start coming back up because in a casual survey of several developers and engineers just in the Pewaukee, well, let's just say eastern and central Waukesha County, you could see approximately 600 lots come on the market in the next 12 to 24 months. And 190 of those could very possibly be right here in the city of Pewaukee. So there's some good news in it. We're working, trying to get these things launched. Some of these are in really key areas that you may not expect, so kind of watch for those as they come out in your local papers. I'm sure we'll have lots of stats here at the Builders Association too. So,
If I could just finish with one quick question for you guys. John, if you were developing Broken Hill, Tim, Carriage Hills, Matt, name a subdivision, and you had the same piece of land today, and you were developing it today, comparative to pricing before, your average price in Broken Hill was $200,000. How much would your average price be today?
depends on if we paid the same amount for the land. It wouldn't be any different.
Cost is the same?
Cost, yeah, if anything, construction costs are up, if anything. Unless you change the density issue, you change the impact issue. And granted, land prices are lower. I mean, obviously, if you can pick off land at X per acre, and it's wide and it's down, it'll be lower because of that, but that's it. And frankly, I think cost of construction have offset a lot of that land price reduction. The cost in the last 10 years, I mean, a lot of it's oil-based product, oil's up. I don't know, it's all about density and house requirements that will drive lower prices and impact. Those are the three big things that drive it.
Yeah,
Well, you
John, just one fundamental issue we have as developers is we can't get the price for the lots that we need to based on the current, what the market's willing to pay. You know, the market's at $60,000 and $70,000, $80,000. It costs us 100, 120, 130. We have to wait. Time will only heal that as we bring that delta, that difference together. And that's really our fundamental problem right now. We're willing to do development, but we can't even bring the product to market at the cost that it's selling. And that is the fundamental problem that's going on right now. And time will heal that. The banks look at and say, hey, hey, Burbach, there's 30 lots out here at $70,000 last year. They're using those comps. So that will heal. That will take time. And obviously a shortage in inventory is going to allow that to move on.
You guys, I think today's been a fascinating discussion. I really appreciate everyone's attendance and everyone's opinions and dialogue. Next Builder Council meeting is going to be in May. John and Scott and I would love to hear any topics that you guys want to bring up that will fill a room like this again. But thank you for your participation to